Today's guest is future ex-boyfriend. Based in Provo, Utah, future ex-boyfriend is always pushing the bounds of creativity and has been making a name for himself and his local scene as a musician to watch. Welcome, future ex-boyfriend.
Hey, how's it going?
I am well. How are you?
Doing great. Hey,
Good.
let's start back at the beginning. Where were you born and raised, and how did music first come into your life?
So I was born in Las Vegas. My family is military. So then we moved to um, like the Ogden area when I was around like 6 or 7, and then I've been in Ogden ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. So, yeah. So, how was the music scene in Ogden like growing up? Yeah, sorry, one second. Yeah, how was the Ogden music scene?
Yeah, the Ogden music scene. So when growing up, it was bustling. There's a lot of bands like when I was in high school and junior high, and I had a lot of friends, older siblings that were in bands, and that's kind of what inspired me to do music, really. But at a certain point, the local venue like shut down, had to shut down and stuff. So the Ogden scene itself has kind of crumbled. There's
Gotcha.
a lot of musicians around here, but we play Logan a lot and Salt Lake a lot, and then come down to Provo as well. But kind of kind of a not great place right now for Ogden.
Gotcha. Yeah, hopefully we can help with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you were growing up, what kind of music did you listen to? Were your parents into music at all, or how'd that get started with you?
Yeah, music was on in my house all the time. When I think about it, like anytime we were doing anything in the car, and it was a little bit of everything, to be honest, like from bluegrass stuff that my stepmom really likes. My dad loves like the Backstreet Boys,
Nice.
uh, boy band stuff. A lot of Prince was played in the house. A lot of disco, Bee Gees, and then like the Grateful Dead was played a lot. REM. So just like a lot of stuff. I was just around music all the time.
What did you gravitate towards yourself?
I mean, I went through my phases. When I was like 13, 14, my favorite band ever was like Green Day. Just like loved Green Day so much. And that kind of like opened the doors to like Blink 182 and Paramore and like a lot of bands like that. And then that slowly just like turned into like more indie rock stuff of like The Strokes and MGMT. And um, yeah, I listened to a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite album of all time?
Favorite album of all time? Um, I would have to say, man, that is really hard. That's like so hard. Um, Man, I only get one.
Let's go. Yeah, you can let me a few, just a few of your favorites.
Yeah. So like probably my favorite uh, album right now might be Currents by Tame Impala. Um, but then like we got a lot of stuff. Like Purple Rain by Prince is like a classic. That was like one of the first vinyls I ever owned.
Oh, nice.
Like I love Number Two by Led Zeppelin. I like can listen to that album like all the time. Yeah, I'll just stick with that. Those three. That's great.
That's awesome. Those are great albums. So, at what point did you decide to pick up an instrument and start learning it? What was your first instrument?
I picked up the guitar when I was around 13 or 14. Um, my dad played, my grandma played, but they played like around the campfire and stuff. But then I think I took a guitar class in like junior high, and that's when I was like, hey, I want to play guitar. And yeah, that's how that happened.
That's so cool. What kind of songs were you trying to play at first?
Um, just like anything really. My dad had taught me a bunch of country songs, like John Denver songs, just because they were like three chords, and like really easy to just like strum along to and like get all that done. I remember learning like Sweet Child of Mine, it was like probably like one of the first like riffs I learned.
Yeah,
Just like a lot of that kind of stuff. The easy stuff.
I gotcha. That's cool. So on your feed, I see you playing a lot of different instruments. At what point did you try to expand away from guitar and add more things to your repertoire?
So a few years into it, playing guitar, I started a band with my friends called Mojave Nomads, and that's the first time I ever sang. That was like, oh, wait, I should like learn how to do this, and then kind of through that, started picking up the keyboard, just because it was kind of like the next thing, like just like with synths and stuff. And then the last couple of years, I've learned bass and drums, and like harmonica, and just like random little things, whatever I need to learn now, basically.
That's awesome. Did you try and like learn them all at once, or did kind of like focus on one at a time? Like especially now, like is there one you're trying to focus on now at the moment?
Right now, my main focus is like production work. But like with that, like I spend a lot of time playing bass, just because I love bass lines and like want that to be like the best it can be. And then like I play drums like really whenever I get a chance. Like it's just like super fun. So I guess I definitely play the ones that I'm like worse at more, I guess. Um, but I still play everything a lot. So
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Makes sense. So when did you first start writing music and having music for yourself?
I wrote like my first song with like my very first band, like probably like 6 months after I started guitar. Like I had formed a little band. We never did anything. We just would all come over to my house on like Tuesdays after school and like try to write songs and figure that all out and have a good time.
What kind of band was it?
We were bad. We're a bad band. But I don't know. I feel like we were probably trying to be like a Blink 182-esque band. Like the drummer I was playing with like just loved Blink 182, and so I feel like that was probably what we were trying to sound like, but I don't know. I have no idea what we sounded like, honestly. Just noise probably.
Yeah. Was there a time you can pinpoint where you started taking music a little more seriously and started to say like, okay, I want to make this band actually be good?
Yeah, that was like my band in high school. I was in a band called the Contras, and I just played lead guitar. And we like took it as seriously as like high schoolers can take something, I guess. Like we would play shows every once in a while, and like went to a recording studio and like recorded an album and stuff like that. But um, then like half of us went on a mission, and I stayed here. So that band kind of just fell apart. But that
Yeah,
was like the first time I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make music for a living.
that's awesome. And that was just guitar at that point.
Yep, just guitar.
So what came after that band? I mentioned Mojave Nomads. When did that come in?
That was like right after. So that was like as I was graduating high school, I ran into Coulter and Cole, the guitar player and the drummer, at a Cage the Elephant concert.
Oh, nice.
I had grown up with Coulter, but we had like lost touch because he's a few years older than me. And they had been jamming as a band, and they were like trying to like kind of take it seriously, and they knew I had been playing, and so that was like pretty natural there. But like right out the gate, it was kind of like, hey, like if we're gonna make a band, like we should like really try to make a band.
Yeah. And you became the singer. What was it like first putting yourself out there as a singer? Was that hard for you at first, or kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, that was it was terrifying. um uh I could not sing, like, to save my life. Like I remember like literally trying to record some demos with the guys, and I didn't know like half of them very well. And I like know, like we've talked about it later, that everyone was like, this this is gonna be our singer, huh? Eventually, like I found my like style and like how to sing, and like took a few lessons and stuff. But at first, it was like really really rough. It was not great.
Yeah. During the process of the band, did you come around to like singing, or how was it? Was it something you always had to do, or what was it for you?
Um, like after I started really like getting comfortable like with my ability and like figuring out what I could do, like singing is honestly like my favorite thing now. It's like crazy to me that at one point I didn't sing and like do all that, because now I considered myself like a vocalist before anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely love singing. do it all the time. I don't shut up.
That's awesome. So has music always been a collaborative effort for you? Like, do you always write with other people, or do you kind of do your own thing now, or what is it now?
I mean, so Mojave Nomads is very collaborative. We've been kind of taking a break because of COVID. Not a lot of stuff you can do like as a band. Um, but like that was always super collaborative. But then all of Future Ex-Boyfriend is I do everything.
Wow. So you play all the instruments and production yourself, it sounds like.
Yep, and mix and master and do do the whole shebang.
That's crazy. When did you start getting into production?
About a year ago.
So like kind of during the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, it was like maybe a little bit before then. I had planned out that I was going to do a solo album, and that's like when Future Ex-Boyfriend like was starting to form, and like I had a batch of songs kind of ready to go, and then I just like learned how to produce like while making that album, I guess, and that was like kind of the goal of it was like because I learned really by doing and making mistakes, so that was how I did that really.
So it was more of something like you had a goal that you wanted to make this your own project rather than, I would say, rather than the need to do it yourself, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a goal of mine. Like just to become like self-sufficient, I guess I should say. Like so like and that's where I really started like focusing in on like the instruments that I'm not super proficient at and yeah, just like that was definitely the goal.
That's awesome. So you must have learned a lot over the past year about production and like having to do the trial by error and stuff. What advice would you give to a new musician who wants to get into the production side of things? Something that you've learned.
Yeah, the biggest thing with production I've learned is like to not overthink it. I think especially when you're first starting and you're like looking at YouTube tutorials and like just Googling stuff, people really kind of prey on your insecurities and they want to sell you stuff. They want to sell you plugins and they want to
Yeah.
sell you all the stuff. And you don't really need any of it. At the end of the day, mixing is making everything play nice together in like the stereo field. So like just like you know what music sounds like, just make music that you want it to sound like. And that's really it.
Yeah. What's your go-to like software you use for production?
I use Logic Pro.
Awesome. Was there like a reason you chose that over everything else?
Because I had GarageBand on my Mac already and I had kind of been making demos for the Nomads on that beforehand. And then I just had a handful of friends also using Logic. So it was just like, it was pretty cheap too. So just like really natural to get it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I saw on your feed you have a new song coming out April 1st called Fool. That's correct, right? Perfect. Tell me more about like the process of both writing and recording that song, what it's been for you.
Yeah, that song came really, really fast. I mean, like within like a week or two, I had everything like fledged out and like the first mix done. And then I kind of sat on it for a while, like a couple months just to like see what else I was writing and doing stuff. And I wrote it like right around the time I released Happy to Pretend. So I was just kind of like letting that song do its thing as well. And then a couple of months ago, I decided to like revisit it. I changed a few things and like remixed it because I had gotten better in my eyes. And then yeah, and um then I got it ready to release, you know, like a couple weeks ago. Took the album art by myself. Oh, my girlfriend helped me, but yeah, and started learning all that stuff on the photo editing side and
Nice.
been
That's
fun.
so cool. What does the song mean to you?
Ah, Fool is about, you know, that moment when you're like arguing with somebody and you like realize you've been wrong like the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah.
Uh, you've been like, maybe you've been kind of, you know, not very nice.
Yeah.
It's just, and you really realize like, oh man, that's that my bad. Yeah,
Yeah. It happens to the best of us. Yeah, absolutely.
that's what that song's heavily about.
Awesome. So in the future, how is it going to be with the dynamic? Are you going to carry on with Future Ex-Boyfriend as well as Mojave Nomads, or is it just going to kind of go on to the band, or how's that going to be?
Yeah, I'll definitely do both. Mojave Nomads is, they all are kind of doing their own thing as well. Um, and we've just honestly started really talking about doing stuff again for like the last couple weeks.
Right.
But I don't necessarily see us doing like any touring or anything. So I think Future Ex-Boyfriend will definitely be my focus as like a career musician. But then like I love all those dudes so much, and like there's no reason for us to not be Mojave Nomads. So we're gonna just have a lot of fun with Mojave Nomads and just like take it easy.
That's awesome. So what's your experience been with playing live? You mentioned touring.
Yeah, I've done it a lot. Played it live a lot of times. Between Mojave Nomads and then I was in a band called Ugly Boys as well. Um, and like both bands have toured um, pretty pretty well before COVID happened, and then just played a lot locally. Um, Definitely hundreds of shows. I love
Wow.
playing live. It's one of my favorite things ever. I'm looking forward to putting together a band for Future Ex-Boyfriend and playing live, but obviously with COVID, I haven't had the chance, so it hasn't happened. But
Yeah. So how would you say your first show compares to how you play live now?
I mean, I mean, it's just like not even the same person, you know.
Mhm.
First time I played live, especially like singing, I was probably like a statue and just like really focused on remembering words and like not messing up. And now I just like it's more of a second nature to me, I don't have to think about it nearly as much, especially being well rehearsed and whatnot, and just like having a good time. Um, yeah, so it's just like it's completely different.
Yeah. Was there a key lesson you would say you learned, like after playing all these live shows, you kind of had to say, this is something I needed to improve on, and you had to?
Um, yeah, I mean, we, especially as Mojave Nomads, just like starting out, like we knew that we sucked, right? But we wanted to not suck. So it was literally like every show. Often we would film shows as well to like watch it back and kind of like be like, oh yeah, that sucks. That was cool. So it was just like kind of an ever evolving thing. I could still focus on certain aspects, I feel like probably, like you always can. You can always get better. But
Yeah.
a big thing for me is just like making sure like I have good energy, but also don't compromise like singing.
Yeah. That makes sense. So for those people who might be listening or watching this who aren't in Utah and haven't been in this area, what would you tell people the northern Utah music scene is like?
I mean, it depends on the day, Sometimes there's a lot of bands and there's a lot of bands kicking ass, and that's awesome. There's a lot of really talented musicians all over Utah, like from northern to southern. It's actually kind of unbelievable how many there are. I mean, you're starting a whole app for it. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, like it's awesome and it's like a great thing to be around. I've made some of like my best friends ever just like through music and like playing with other bands, and people in other bands like are just like great friends now. So I would say we're very welcoming, um and like pretty talented.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite show you've ever played? Like, can you have one that come to mind?
um I have a handful. The Nomads had gotten to play Salt Lake Twilight with Robert DeLong, and that was a really fun show to play. um as well as there's a show with Ugly Boys when I was in New Orleans. That was like really, really, really fun. It's kind of wild show. But yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So what are you excited for that's coming up?
Just like I'm excited for live music to come back.
Yeah.
Uh, it seems like it's on its way, like with the vaccine coming out, getting scheduled for that, and shows. It seems like they're slowly kind of starting to come back. And then just to release more music. I have a lot of Future Ex Boyfriend music that's like pretty much ready to go. It's just like waiting on the timing and stuff, just being strategic about it. And I'm really excited about all that too.
That's gonna be so cool. I'm so excited to hear it all.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to hear it as well. It's gonna be fun, and I'm making my own music videos and different pieces of content as far as that's concerned too. So it'll be cool.
So you're doing the whole thing yourself, just like every aspect of it, not only like the music side, but the creative side.
Yeah, that's like a new thing that I've kind of wanted to start taking on, and really like trying to do everything. I've definitely had help in the past. Like my friend Tim made the Happy to Pretend music video for me, and like I've definitely had a lot of help from my girlfriend with like photo shoots and stuff like that. But I'm definitely trying to like reel it in more and just learn more because it's just like so much fun. Like I've been learning After Effects all day.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
it's just like it's a good time. It's cool.
that's so cool. So what are your short-term and long-term goals for your music?
Short term, I mean, like the next 6 months, I'm pretty much gonna release a song every month for the next six, hopefully, as long as everything happens well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, long term would be able to quit my job and like just do music full time, whether that's just like as a recording artist or like producing for people. Just as long as I'm making money through music and can like eat and pay rent, it'll be cool.
Yeah. Do you see yourself starting production for other people soon?
I've definitely been asked a handful of times. Nothing has happened quite yet. I think people are just starting to realize that I produce by myself, which is cool. Like I'm glad like people are starting to like catch on. Um, the biggest thing for me is time. Like making sure I have time to work on my own stuff, especially if somebody's like paying me to work on their stuff. Like I just want to make sure I'm delivering well. So
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. Well, I appreciate you talking with me today, man.
yeah,
It's
of course.
been good, and I've learned a lot about you and your music and all that. And I'm excited to see what comes of it, like all these new songs. You have a great sound, and I think it's going to go places.
Oh, thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
of
it.
course. And then playing live, that's going to be great too. I want to come see your show one of these days. Me and Hunter will both come out.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully it happens. I definitely need to find a band. All right, I
Yeah,
have some people in mind, but it's a little different when you're hiring people.
yeah, exactly. It's all just one step at a time. But yeah, no, yeah, we'll stay in touch, and we'll have to reconnect after a few months or so, and after you've released some of these things, and kind of just check in and see what's going on.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good day, man. Appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, see ya. Bye.